Coming in at 15, the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons started the 2024 season off with a hot start. They got off to a 6-3 start, including winning a big game against the team that were going to win the Super Bowl, the Philadelphia Eagles. They won two high-powered divisional games against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then they beat the Cowboys to jump out to a 6-3 record. However, the bottom fell in and fast. After dropping two games on the road to Denver and New Orleans, this season fell apart even further. They would lose a game at home against the Chargers and against the Minnesota Vikings. They would get back to 7-7 before Michael Penix Jr. became the starting quarterback. He got a win against the Giants, and then the Falcons lost two heartbreakers against the Commanders and Panthers to finish 8-9. But the Falcons saw something special from a couple of their guys. Bijan Robinson and Drake London had Pro Bowl caliber seasons. Michael Penix Jr. seemed to be the future, but now with a new defensive coordinator, bringing back Jeff Ulbrich, with a couple of pieces like Leonard Floyd coming in, the Falcons entered this draft with 5 picks. But they will look to upgrade that defense. That's probably the number one need so far for this Falcon team. So let's get ready to get this show started. Let's talk about where the roster currently sits leading into the draft. What is our current thoughts on the mock? What is the pundit saying that the Falcons could do tomorrow night? And what will we think the Atlanta Falcons would do at number 15? Up next, the hometown Atlanta Falcons. Rise. What's going on, everybody? Finally, I get to talk about my hometown team. I talked about everybody else. But we get to finally talk about the Falcons. Let a couple of y'all get in here. But, of course, we are 25 hours from the draft. And, I mean, right now it's still kind of looking like the Falcons are going to go pass rush. Hopefully it's kind of stick with that, or defensive in general. Jude, what's up, my boy? I know you got some comments to give to me on this show. What's going on, buddy? He said draft 2025. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are officially a day away from the draft now. But the Falcons, of course, we got a couple of clear needs, really on the defense. Of course, as I mentioned in the show, we coming in, just trying to throw out a couple of things just before we really get into it. The Falcons is coming into draft night with about $9 million in cap space, and $4 million of that is draft capital right now. So I just want to kind of show y'all how this worked real quick before I really dive into this thing. The Falcons are picking 15th. So let me bring this up on the screen real quick before I even get into it, because I want y'all to get a chance to see, in case for those that's never seen it before, how this process works as far as the draft resources and contract estimates real quick. Let me see. Let's go up to the Atlanta Falcons. As you see right now, the Falcons, I'm going to come off the screen for a second. The Falcons are the 15th team. Right now, we have about $4 million in cap space is going to go into these draft picks. We got 5 picks on the board. The 15th pick is going to make about $20 million. So these are just a couple of ballpark estimates on what that pick situation will be when we make the picks. We have 5 picks going into tomorrow, excuse me. But this is kind of the situation. If you've never seen how this works, this is based on the rookie pool and what the contracts are going to be. But let's get into this thing for the Falcons. Let me come back on the screen. But let's get into this thing for the Falcons. Our draft needs are clear. Edge rusher, D tackle, linebacker, cornerback, safety, center. Edge rusher is the clear number one need for the Falcons. Because let's be honest, we were the worst team in the league in sacks last season. We've been bottom tier in the league for the last 7 to 8 years in sacks. We're gonna have to walk away in this draft with a pass rusher of some sort. We did have a new defensive coordinator in Jeff Ulbrich. Right now, we possibly are running a 4-3-3-4 hybrid defense. So there is no set. Are we going to line 4 linemen up, or we're going to line 3 linemen up? But either way, you got to get somebody to come in here to address that situation for the Falcons. I want to bring up the depth chart while I'm talking about this too,
just to kind of show y'all where we are currently as far as the picks. So as far as the roster per se. Let me go to pull that up as I'm talking about it right now. I've been doing that with the other teams, so I want to definitely do it with us. I mean, I'm aware of our roster. But just to really get into it, let me go take myself off this screen, to be honest with you. I'm going to go down to the defensive side of the football before we get into this topic. As you see, currently, they have us listed as running a 3-4 defense. So currently, Morgan Fox is listed as a left defensive end with Zach Harrison and Junior Ahodra backing him up. On the opposite side, David Ayamada, who should absolutely not be on this roster right now, but due to that contract, he's going to be on the team probably. This is his last season as a Falcon. But based on this depth chart right now, this is what we're going into. Rook would be considered the starting nickel tackle in this 3-4 defense right now, with Arnold Ebiketie and Leonard Floyd lining up on the outside. I like Ebiketie, don't get me wrong. I still feel like he is a project at this point. I still think that he could still be a productive player if the Falcons actually utilize him enough. But then at the same time, he doesn't get a consistent pass rush either. So it's like there's it's potentially a problem at that spot with Arnold Ebiketie as well. So that's another thing. You got Troy Anderson in the middle. I think the Falcons will get a linebacker at some point in this draft. You brought in Divine Diablo. Caden Ellis has been your hybrid linebacker / pass rusher. So they need to, as you see, there are needs, clear needs on this team. But you definitely need to upgrade this line in general, because with the loss of Grady Jarrett, you are basically kind of embracing the youth movement. Yes, Morgan Fox came in as a veteran, as a cheap veteran. However, he's not your long-term solution. You need to go ahead and get you another passer. You need to get you a true defensive end. Let me be the first one to get on this air and say this. I am sick of the Falcons running a defense where you have your defensive tackles playing defensive end. Get you a legitimate pass rusher or legitimate defensive end that can get pressure. That's been part of our issue the last couple of years. There has not been getting any consistent pressure. Last season, we had Grady Jarrett and Ayamada listed as defensive ends. You should never have guys that are built to rush up the being pass rushers. Never. It's been a big part of the reason why the Falcons are in the position that they're in, because of this current spot that we're in. So the Falcons desperately need to upgrade at that spot. I've seen a couple of mocks also project us to take Jahad Campbell as well, if as a potential option at 15. I don't think it's going to happen, but even if it does happen, look at the linebacker situation. Troy Anderson is at the end of his rookie deal also, by the way, who can't stay healthy. You got Caden Ellis, who's the better linebacker. However, he really is a better pass rusher than he is a linebacker. He had over 100 tackles last season, but I feel that he's a better pass rusher than he is as a linebacker. So the Falcons, and by the way, he's up for a contract this season. So they need to upgrade at linebacker desperately in this draft. As you see, Leonard Floyd is considered the right outside linebacker. In a 3-4 defense, these are the pass rushers. So Leonard Floyd and Ebiketie is currently listed as the pass rushers, with Braylon Trice, who was a third-round pick last year, backing him up, and D'Angelo Malone backing up Leonard Floyd. Floyd is not our long-term guy. But you do need to get you a veteran in here that's going to upgrade this position. That's one thing that has to happen if you're the Falcons. It got to happen in this draft. And you're in the prime position to get you a pass rusher of some sort. It really depends on who's there right at that point, because at a certain point, we saw Michael Williams being projected to be a Falcon. And a lot of mocks still do have him projected to be a Falcon. You got Mike Green at that spot, projected to be a Falcon. So it's really going to depend on how do the pass rushers fall. Because after Abdul Carter and after Jalen Walker, it's picking a litter from that point on. Because you're either going to see certain teams go best player available that's going to be ahead of you. So when you get to 15, you're going to have a lot of solid pass rushers remaining at 15. You will also have a lot of solid defensive tackles left at 15. Because honestly, I think the only defensive tackle that's going to be gone is Mason Graham. But after that, you still got Kenneth Grant. You still got Walter Nolan. You got several options on this defensive line that you can address in this draft. So the Falcons have got to consider what they're going to do at that spot. My other need, of course, was defensive tackle. You brought in Rook Ahoro last season, but again, the problem that the Falcons are running into, you have unproven defensive players. They're young at this spot. Kentavious Street, veteran, he'll make a play here and there. This is not the guy that you want to line up all 3 downs, all 17 weeks of the season. Not the guy you want. Lakel London, don't even know why he's on the roster. He's a depth piece at this point. David Onyemata should be as in the defensive tackle. This is another issue that I have with the 3-4 defense. The guys that are currently listed there, these guys can be considered as defensive tackles, which is David Onyemata, Taquan Graham, and Brandon Dorlus. Dorlus came as a 5th-round pick. None of these guys should be your true pass rusher or considered as a defensive end. They should be more premium stopping the run. And this is a key part in the Falcons struggle on this roster is the fact that you got guys listed as defensive ends who should be defensive tackles. I understand you're running a 3-4 defense, but get you a true guy that's going to play the spot. We don't have that on this team, and that's the problem with the Falcons right now. So, again, get you a true defensive tackle. I know a lot of people like the loss of Grady hurts the Falcons at this point, but Grady Jarrett was not producing at the level of a $20 million defensive tackle, which is why he got released. It's a business at the end of the day in the NFL. Let's just be real. I love Grady Jarrett, one of my favorite Falcons, but he was not producing at the rate that he was getting paid. So the Falcons had to make a move at that spot and free up some cap. And they're now possibly going to be looking at a defensive tackle in this draft. And this is a very deep defensive tackle draft. There's going to be options in that second round. Even if the Falcons did choose to go get a pass rusher in the first, you got defensive tackles in the second round that should be available at premium. You got players that's going to be left because, again, a lot of the skill guys are going to go in the first round. And I'm not referencing wide receivers. I'm referencing like the best talent on the board. So that's another thing that's going to be a factor in tomorrow's draft for the Falcons. So we'll see what happens at possibly 46. Linebacker, as I mentioned. As you look at our linebacking core, it is Caden Ellis and Troy Anderson. I don't trust Troy Anderson at all as linebacker for the Falcons. They need to move on or get better at that spot because you cannot – this was your second-round pick in 2022. You have to consider him as a bust at this point. He's had a good game here and a good game there, but 90% of his Falcon tenure, he's been injured. You cannot go into your long-term future on your defense with Troy Anderson being your 2 key linebackers because right now, you can't bank on Troy Anderson to even stay healthy at this point. They brought in Devon Diablo. I think he's more of a depth piece. Josh Woods, more of a depth piece. Caden Ellis, he's more of a – to me, Caden Ellis is a better pass rusher than he's a linebacker. And this is no disrespect to what he did last season because he played well both ways. However, I think Caden Ellis could be more of your rotational pass rusher than being a true linebacker. I think that was a part of the problem for the Falcons because they didn't really know what scheme they were in last year. So that also hurt us. Let me hit some of these comments real quick. Tev said, wish we brought my boy Grady back at a cheaper price, but they played him out of position so much it killed. Absolutely. That's one of the biggest problems with Grady Jarrett was they played him out of position. But before I continue, let me bring my boy KD into the stream. KD, what's going on, bro?
Hey, bro, what's going on, man? What's going on?
What's up, bro? I was actually in the process of talking about the needs that I had listed for the Falcons. We was talking about Grady at this point. How do you feel about this comment that Tev made?
I think what happened was we know Grady Jarrett isn't exactly he isn't exactly as good as he used to be, but Father Time is undefeated. But I think it got to a point where the Falcons may have wanted to bring him back. What's up, buddy? They may have wanted to bring him back for cheaper and he was like, "No, I'm not going. I'm not doing it for that much." So they both just decided to split ways. I don't think it was just the point of, yeah, we don't want Grady, and he was just out. But I mean, but with the money he was making, it was, something had to give, basically, with that
Totally
situation.
agree. Because coming into this season, he was making 20 million, I believe. It was 20 million flat. And at the rate at the production that we were getting of Grady Jarrett at that point, it just didn't make sense. My boy Oro checking in. He said, yeah, because him and Landman, I was talking about the linebackers. Both, yes, I totally agree. And this is the reason why they had to move from Nate Landman, because we don't have sideline to sideline linebackers at this stage at this point with the Falcons. We don't have sideline to sideline linebackers. Caden Ellis is not a bad linebacker. Let me be clear with that. But I don't think Caden Ellis I feel that Caden Ellis is more of a pass rusher rather than being a stand-up linebacker, because also to me, one of the problems I have with the Falcons between 23 and 24, in 23 they made sense. They made sense on the defense. But in 2024, Nate Landman is not covering your tight ends in this division or even in the NFC. They're not covering your Kelce's, your Brock Bowers, your Dallas Goddards, some of the better tight ends in the league, your George Kittles. Same thing for Caden Ellis. Caden Ellis, a lot of his tackles was racked up after the tackle. It looked like freaking Paul Royal at a point for those guys last season. How you feeling about that, KD?
Yeah, we definitely need to upgrade at linebacker. Landman, like this guy said, they move like they're stuck in mud. He's just not that modern linebacker to be able to combat those, like you said, those athletic tight ends and running backs coming out of the backfield. I mean, he's a solid rotational player. Say if your starting linebacker's hurt and he needs to fill in for a game or two, he'd be great at that. But as far as a current starting linebacker in the NFL in 2025, I just don't see it for him. Not for Landman.
I had to use that example. I agree. I had to use that example because I needed Falcon. If any diehard Falcon fan knows how Paul Royal was, he would rack up 100 tackles, but most will be after the tackle. We gotta get legitimate linebackers. That's why I also understood. I've seen a mock out that Peter Schrager put a mock out that had a second Jahad Campbell. I know it wouldn't be the pick that everybody would want, but I can understand why they would want to put Jahad Campbell at that spot. He got another comment up here. He said Caden Ellis should have been lined up outside the defensive end. I can't remember what technique. Yeah, they changed it towards the end of the season, and he started getting sacks at whatever. Don't get us a line. We don't know what Jim Lake was running at the end of the season last year. Don't get us a line.
No, don't get me started on that.
Yeah, we don't know what they were running, but he was actually, it was arguably the best pass rush on the team at that point late in the season. So again, like they have to. I got to see what Jeff Ulbrich is going to do with him, because yes, he's listed as a right inside linebacker. However, I just feel like that's not his place. I feel that he's more of a pass rusher. I feel he's more of a pass rusher. He said that's how New Orleans used him. Right. And that's why I thought that they picked him up, because I thought they were going to bring him in to be more of a pass rusher than a right side linebacker. And Taylor said sit him on the outside blitz. They should though. Like
they definitely should.
I didn't understand that I didn't really understand that last season. And Tev said I feed 20 mil kind of crazy. Should have cut. That's the one move I will not understand Terry didn't do. I did not understand him not cutting David Ayamata. I definitely understand that. Yeah, I'm gonna bring some of these needs back up. So I said linebacker, cornerback. Now, I want to hit before I get into this need. I want to bring up a comment from my boy Buddy. I know he's tuned in right now. He asked this question: how would you feel about the Falcons selecting a cornerback? I'm gonna let KD answer this one first, and then I'll come follow up with that one.
As far as selecting a cornerback with our first round pick, I feel like I want a pass rusher at that spot, but can I be mad at it? Honestly, no. Honestly, no, because we desperately need a cornerback. We desperately need corners, plural. We need corners. So if we were to draft a good cornerback at that spot, I can't be mad at it as long as we find a way to be able to get what I think our number one need is, which is pass rusher. If we find a way to get a pass rusher, or who knows, we don't have that many picks, but maybe we trade back into the first round or the early second. But as long as we can get a solid corner at that spot, if we are picking a corner, I can't be too mad at it.
Hey, I feel the same way. I wouldn't be opposed to taking a corner at some point in this draft. If it falls that way and they feel like, okay, we're going to take a Will Johnson at 50, I'm not mad. Because truth be told, let's just be honest, Falcon fans. Mike Hughes, D. Burt Alford, Mark Phillips, these are not Kevin King, Natron Brooks. This is not your definition of a solid or even shutdown secondary. Once you get past AJ Terrell, you can pick on the other side of the field. One game I can bring back up last season, the Minnesota Viking game where Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison had a field day. They weren't picking on down. AJ got picked on like once or twice. AJ gonna have his bad. AJ has his games where he struggles, and that's like against your big receivers like your DK Metcalf, your Mike Evans. So there's certain games where, hey, pray for our boy AJ Terrell. He's going up against a big receiver. But as far as the other side of the field, it is questionable at best. You definitely need to get you a corner. It may not be a first round pick, but it could be your next pick. I don't have an issue if they said we're going to hit the defensive line first round or the second round, get the best corner available. I don't have an issue with that. Let's see what the comments said. Oh, yeah, I'll hit this first one. He said, I really want Malachi Starks. If not, then go edge. I understand that. I can respect that. Pair him up with
respect that. Yeah.
Jesse Bates. We need a CB2 and 3 if Terrell has another super season again, and we'll be shopping TB1 next. Listen, and I think that also the problem with, and I'm gonna throw this up because Tevsy said this, and I got still kind of questions on AJ. And I understand the Falcon fans that ride the fence with AJ Terrell, but I also think a part of AJ Terrell's sometimes his issues can be the lack of a pass rush. Because if a quarterback got 10 seconds in the pocket,
can't cover all day. You can't cover all day.
You can't cover the whole game. So if he got the receiver open the whole game, if the pressure's not getting there, because there was times, y'all know it as fans, there was third down, we were sending an all-out blitz and not a single soul touched the quarterback. So what can your secondary do at that point? So I feel that you got to get you a decent to solid number 2 or number 3, because I don't feel that the Falcons have really addressed that going forward. Because honestly, D. Alford who's listed, as y'all see, as a nickelback, is your 4th best corner on a good team. Note what I said. You will not see D. Alford in the nickel on Philadelphia, on Kansas City, on Buffalo, on Detroit. You will never see them on those top tier teams as a nickelback. Same thing for Mike Hughes will be more in the slot than the D. Alford would be. D. Alford will be on the bench. So
can I just say something?
Go ahead.
My goodness, I don't want to say I hate it, but I kind of hate that D. Alford even got brought back. That Minnesota Vikings game, that was so embarrassing to watch him just get turned around out there. I thought he was doing the boots on the ground, man. I wanted to ask where the fans were because it was just crazy. I don't think I've ever seen a cornerback just get completely turned around and fall like that and just look crazy. But that's the position we're in. We need corners bad, and I guess since he kind of already knows the scheme, even though Jimmy Lake got fired, but even he's kind of familiar with the team, so I guess that's why they brought him back. But It's rough. It's rough, and as far as our cornerbacks.
I definitely agree with you. See, the comments were saying yeah, Kevin King got picked on too, and they brought him back also.
He was.
He said AJ, he think he's too small. Now I'll say this: I don't think AJ is technically slow, but I can respect the small comment, because I will say we do know there are certain games where Mike Evans, we know if AJ's matched up with Mike Evans, it's gonna be a little rough day. DK gave him the work last season. George Pickens gave him the work last season. So he have his days where if he goes up against a big wide receiver, another underrated game that somebody that picked on him last season, I hate to say this, was that second Saints game. Valdez Scantling had a day on him.
Oh my goodness.
In that second Saints game. So if it's a big shifty receiver, they possibly can get off on AJ Terrell. So that's another reason why you got to kind of have that corner to bring you up on the kind of the other corner that, hey, if he having a rough day, I can be able to lock him up. But when I was on the other side of the field, you don't see that. You don't see that at all. Let's see. He said the Chargers game. Oh, yeah, the Chargers game, baby, man. Justin Herbert. Yeah. And the crazy thing about it, the Falcons gave up a lot of points that game. Kirk Cousins kept them in that game. They didn't really play good on offense. The Chargers didn't play good on offense that day. And he said, oh, no. But yeah, as y'all see, this is the corner room right now for the Falcons, and it ain't that pretty. This is not the corner room that you want on a contending team in the NFC. He mentioned that too. MVS barbecue. That's why I say he's small. Evans burned him on 40% of his. Yeah, that's what we mean by he struggles with the bigger receiver. So it's like you gonna have to eventually address that position in the draft. And the crazy thing about it, I don't really see a whole bunch of corners going first round. I think second round is going to be where it's going to be your pick of the litter, and you could possibly look at a Benjamin Morrison in that second round. You look at one of the Ohio State corners in Denzel Burke or Darian Porter. So it's going to be corners in day two that's going to be feasible for the Falcons to make a pick on. Can we get back to these other needs? That was one of the needs that I had on there too. Safety is another need that I mentioned is need for the Falcons. Yes, Jesse Bates, arguably the best safety in the NFL. But on that opposite side,
oh man,
we tried Justin Simmons. I want to see what y'all got to say in the comments. I definitely want y'all opinion on this. I know a lot of folks did not care for Justin Simmons last season, but I also felt like was Justin Simmons' problem because of that terrible scheme. Because Jesse Bates didn't even get a chance to really. He was solid last year. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, I feel like a part of their production diminished because what defense was we running half of the time? We didn't even know what we were, and then there was times where Richie Grant was out there taking them Justin Simmons stats, and y'all know how that Richie Grant situation is. He's not a Falcon no more. He's not a Falcon no more. How do you feel about the safety situation?
Same with our cornerbacks. It's kind of just like it's Gladys Knight and the Pips, man. It's Jesse Bates and then it's the rest. So we not only need probably a starter opposite of Jesse Bates, we also need depth at safety. So we definitely are gonna have to address safety. Like you said, I don't know if Justin Simmons really got a fair shot considering everything that was going on with the scheme last year. So I wouldn't mind if he could come back on the cheap. I wouldn't mind Justin Simmons coming back. But as far as looking at it right now, we need help. We need help. Other than Jesse Bates, we need serious help at safety.
I can agree because Jordan Fuller, he's not a bad pickup. I just don't really know. I think you need to still look at getting a younger safety in the draft, maybe mid-round. We'll see. Some of the comments came up. He said, give me the boy from Oregon. Oh, you talking about Tasheen Johnson? He's not a bad safety. Arm, what's up, my boy? He gonna be on here with us tomorrow when we do the first round. Tail said that basically be back in the middle of the field. And I think Owens will put him back there, but I don't know what Jimmy Lake had him doing. I don't know. I don't know what Jimmy Lake had this man doing 95% of the season, because he thrives so well under Ryan Nielsen. And then because of his talent, yes, Jesse Bates was still Jesse Bates. However, when you look at the games, it's like there was sometimes where Jesse Bates is having to go handle this, and somebody's open over here because Justin Simmons don't know what he's doing. So it was weird last season. That was one thing. If y'all follow a lot of the NFL pages during the season, they were killing Jimmy Lake for his scheme last season. They were killing him for his scheme. Let's see. Say you can find a safety in the middle rounds. Yeah, that could be.
That's true. Yeah.
And I'll take the safety from UGA too. Yo, yeah.
Malachi.
That was all. Yeah. And that's another thing. Like, we don't know. Certain players definitely fell off because of that Jimmy Lake scheme, because I don't even know if they knew what they were running half of the time last season. So it was a weird situation for them overall. But to go back to some of the needs that I put up here, let me scroll up to the offense. Center is a need that I have on here. Ryan Uziel was not bad. He was not bad at that spot when Drew Dalman, who is now with the Chicago Bears, went down last season. But again, you still need to upgrade that center position. And I don't think the centers are going to fall off the board until you might get a day 3 center, to be honest with you. But the Falcons will have to look into this. That was one of the other needs that we had on the board. Armand said that you can get a center late too. I hate we let Doc. Well, y'all want to sign off on the guy?
It's just one of those things with Dalman. But yeah, you go ahead, Nate.
So. You could have resigned Drew Dalman if y'all take a look down at QB and look at player number 2. You can resign to Drew Dalman if that contract doesn't happen. That's the issue right now for this Atlanta Falcon football team, is that contract right there. And Drew Dalman, because honestly speaking, Drew Dalman's contract was not expensive. He got, I think, $11 a year in Chicago, which we could have afforded to pay if that contract doesn't happen. But due to that contract, we lost Drew Dalman. He's gonna come back as a 4th. I think we'll get a comp. I think it's a comp 3rd. I'm gonna have to research that. I think it's a comp 3rd we get for losing Drew Dalman. But unfortunately, we shouldn't have had to lose Drew Dalman had they straight up went ahead and not gave that kind of contract out. So this is one of the issues of losing Drew Dalman. Okay, he said it's a third. Okay, I knew it was a 3rd or a 4th that we were going to pick up with the Drew Dalman situation. But how you feel about that? Do you feel like that's the reason we couldn't resign Drew Dalman?
Yeah, I definitely feel like that's the reason, and I won't go too much into it right now, but I hate that, because we know that one of the best ways right now to build a team is you have that quarterback on a rookie contract, and then you build around that. And I just hate that it's kind of hard to do that. Yeah, you have the rookie on the rookie contract, but you have this very, very expensive backup who you're trying to get rid of or trade. And I've seen reports say that they're trying to get teams to take a certain amount of that guaranteed money with the trade. So it's just one of those situations where, and I mean, it was a little similar with Grady Jarrett, even if we wanted to bring him back and not pay him so much, but maybe a little more than a cheap deal. We got that Kirk Cousins contract is just the elephant in the room. So it's kind of hard to deal with that.
Completely agree. And I want to bring this up. He's hold on, let me throw this up. He said that he can't build around now until 2020. Now I will show you. I'm gonna bring up the Kirk contract. I really want to discuss this Kirk contract because I know the notion is we can't. We gave Kirk 180 million in 2 seasons. Let me go ahead for your casual Falcon fans. It is not a 180 in 2 years. It's a 180 over 4 years. But I'm gonna break this contract down via Sports Track. If you was watching our show last year when we talked about this Kirk Cousins deal, it was a high risk, goofy reward situation for the Falcons.
No reward.
No reward for the Falcons. No, I'm saying I know you know, but there's a lot of folks that really don't know this situation for Kirk Cousins. But if y'all look at this contract, Kirk Cousins is making his cap hit is at $40 million this season. That's 14% of the cap. But when you look at the 2026 situation, the Falcons can cut him after this season if they didn't trade him. I think he's going to get traded. I don't think he's going to be a Falcon come September. I think that's why Easton Stick got signed. I think they're going to trade Kirk Cousins. It may not be this weekend, but I think Kirk Cousins does not come into preseason week 1 or even training camp as the Falcons' backup quarterback. I think he will be gone. I definitely think he's going to be gone. I think that's another reason why he showed up to the voluntary workouts because, I mean, you already in the trade market. So why would you not show up to that's a knock on you in general to not show up. But the Kirk contract you can get out this Kirk contract. It will be dead cap. It'll be dead cap as far as the 2026 season, but you're gonna be straight because you'll gain 22 million back. Let's see. Earl Mizzo said, I think the Browns want him. He wants to make sure he's not going to quarterback. Yeah, I think that could be something to look into as well. Oh, brother, here go tell. Nod at him on your head. I still got the voice message. I told you. So, yes, you did say that he was sorry, but we also talked about this off air, on air, and everywhere else. This was a 2-year deal. We got the guy that we wanted. We wanted Michael Penix Jr. That's exactly what we wanted. We didn't know it was going to be that crazy contract. Did get Michael Penix Jr. But I mean, hindsight, getting Penix was the smart thing, was the right thing to do. I know it's still early in the 2020. The guys are coming to the sophomore season, but again, we needed to get a quarterback. But this was a desperation contract from Terry Fontenot all day, every day. And we got 4 weeks of swag surf Kurt before he started to turn over Kurt.
Oh yeah. Oh, when times were good, they were good, man. Swag surf Kurt. Swag surf Kurt.
It was swag surf Kurt. So now it's to a situation where this Kirk Cousins deal, and see, that's the biggest problem with Kirk Cousins' contract is teams know, as y'all see, his dead cap is 75 mil, but if you trade that, I don't think it's not that high. That's why you're seeing Terry Fontenot trying to get teams to take about 20 to 25 to kind of help because the Falcons is going to lose. The Falcons are losing regardless with that Kirk Cousins situation. Whether you sit him on the bench and he make 45 or you trade him and you got to pay a certain amount, either way, Kirk is going to have a bag from the Falcons regardless if he's on the Falcons, on the Browns, on whoever. So that's really what's going to happen with that situation. Oh, let's see. Tell said, I wanted Russ or Justin. We know. I was definitely okay with Russell Wilson because Denver had to pay him all that money. So, yeah. But I'm going to let KD sign off on that because I know we know Tam.
On the Kirk Cousins?
On the Kirk D, yeah.
Fiasco. Yeah. Kirk Cousins, he signed that contract with a ski mask on. I mean, it looked bad then. It looks even worse now. It looked bad then, and I tried to be optimistic about it at the time, but at this point, it looks terrible now. I am glad that we did draft Michael Penix now, but it still looks terrible. And like I said earlier, I hate the fact that it's kind of hard to take advantage of that, having that quarterback on that rookie deal and building around it when you got something like this. And like you say, it's a lose-lose. We're trying to get teams to take at least like 20 mil of the salary of his money just to trade for him. So I don't know. I feel like he won't be on the team. Like you said, start of the season, he will not be on the team. I don't believe. But even if he was, I don't think he'd be any type of distraction. But I just see that him and the team, they both want to move on at this point and just let Michael Penix do his thing.
I can agree with that. Let's see. I'm catching these comments up. Where are you watching the draft tomorrow? At the house. But shout out to the folks that is going to use my draft party tickets. Y'all have fun. I don't, because guess what? What happens if y'all go to the draft party and the Falcons trade out of the first round? Y'all gonna be hot. So yeah. I mean, I prefer
man. to watch. Well, hey Nate, what was the name of LL Cool J's show? In the house. That's where I'm gonna be. That's where I'm gonna be watching it. Yeah. That's where I'm watching the draft tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
That's exactly where I'm watching it.
We gonna be on here with y'all. Y'all hop on here with us. Cause going to the draft party, that's I'm not knocking it. Shout out to the Falcons for doing that. That's awesome that they do that. But I mean, we'll see y'all in September or August, depending on the preseason game where they're going to. But I don't typically go to the draft party. Not nobody that goes to it, but I don't typically go out. I may go one year. If it was day 2, I would probably go. But day 1, nah.
Side note, Nate, since you mentioned the preseason, does Raheem Morris play his starters at all in the preseason this year?
Oh, I'm gonna say no again, just because he's that stubborn. But then again, with your job on the line, I don't know. Let's see. JD said you'll see plenty of teams sign veterans and draft quarterbacks. Pittsburgh. Yeah, I think that's going to eventually happen. Which is why I say I don't know if Kurt gets moved in this draft. I think he's going to be gone at some point. I don't know if it's going to be tomorrow or even day 2. But then again, who knows? Let's see the next comment. My issue is Kurt got hurt after the Saints game and didn't tell anyone. That was selfish and it cost us the season. This is the first time we've had a chance to talk about this because my last show of Falcon Base was the Panther loss in the season. If you was watching the game, Falcon fans that really pay attention to this team, you knew Kurt got hurt in that Saints game. He took a hit from Chase Young, and then he just fell apart from there. But I agree. My issue was, how didn't you address that issue with the training staff? At this point, I think he knew that Michael Penix Jr. would probably step into a situation and thrive. If we could have had Penix start way back in the Denver game, vice versa to the Giants game, we might not have fell apart the way we did. That was very idiotic on Kirk Cousins because by the time the Chargers game, when he threw those god-awful interceptions at Chargers game, you kind of knew this is a wrap for Kirk Cousins. You kind of knew it was a wrap for Kirk Cousins at that point after that Chargers game. What you thinking about that?
Yeah, like you said, if you watched that game, you knew he was hurt at that point. But of course, they interviewed him in the locker room. He's like, "Oh, it's nothing. I'm fine." And my thing was when he played, he continued to play. He played terrible, and Raheem Morris still decided to speak confidently about him and not bench him for all those games. That really rubbed me the wrong way.
I agree 100%. Let's see. JD said, I don't think no one's going to trade for Kirk. Best situation is to stay here. Who knows if Michael Penix Jr. goes down? Hopefully not. Kirk might change it to Kirk. I have no faith in Kirk Cousins as an Atlanta Falcon quarterback ever again. Kirk, I don't even listen. If Kirk can play, let him play the preseason snaps. I mean, if you ain't gonna play the other starters, you might as well let Kirk Cousins go ball for 4 touchdowns in preseason. Might as well let him do it and increase his stock and get traded at the end of the preseason. But Kirk Cousins as the Atlanta Falcons starting quarterback or backup quarterback, I don't see it happening. I don't want to see that man start another game as a Falcon. If we don't have to see it, I don't want to see it. I promise you, I don't want to see it. I tell you what, let me catch Kirk. Oh, don't do him like that. Don't do Kirk like that.
Not like Lanier, man.
Last question on Kirk. Y'all think he's going to take that contract? To be honest, I don't.
You never know. We'll never know.
Right. We'll see. Never. We'll see. Because of what's going on, she said he got to go. Yes, he does. He got to go. We can't do another game with Kirk Cousins as a starting quarterback. Malik, what's up, bro? He said the Falcons were 6-3. I was asking my mom if season ticket holders get play tickets were free to the show. Listen, we were leaving the game like I remember we were saying like we 6-3, man. Hold on, man. And I remember I did a show before that Saints game and said win at least 4 games, you lock the division up. That's all you had to do. These clowns won 2 games. They won 2 games. I was just like, see, because honestly, we knew that the Broncos was gonna give us a problem. There was a couple of games on the schedule that later in the season we kind of knew we were gonna have our hands full. The Vikings was one of them. I had us losing that game. I had us losing the Broncos game, and the Commanders was a toss up. I would have been okay one way or the other, but we lost to the Chargers at home and didn't give up 20 points on defense. That was one dumb game right there. The Saints game, these boys was 2-7, and we watched a dude they picked up off the street. That man was at Food Depot, probably got the contract, got out there, put 100 yards on our head, and we lost. And then the Panther game at the end of the season, Bryce Young looked like prime Cam Newton last game of the season in Mercedes-Benz. It was a mess to end the season. Let's see this. And what makes it worse, he was only thinking about the money. You like that? No, Kirk, we don't like that.
Yeah, Kirk, he was essentially protecting himself. That was a I'm taking care of Kirk move right there.
Yes, it was. Let's see. He said they have to be dashed like Miami, and that's the thing. This is the weird situation for the Falcons. Is this a team could potentially get frustrated and say, hey, or it could be an injury. You could have a contending team that has an injury and say, hey, we need a quarterback that can at least mask these injuries right now. So that's the point. That's the issue that they're running into. So that's the problem that we have going forward. Bryce Young going to be real scary this year. We're going to see. I think Bryce Young got some confidence at the end of that season last year. And he's going to be one to watch out for. And that's another team in the division I'm going to be intrigued to see. Are they going to try to get better as far as addressing the issues in Carolina? I talked about them in a previous show. Okay, our boy Grant checking. Hold on. I see he's in the lobby. Hold on, Grant. My bad, man.
Uh-oh.
My bad,
GP.
Grant. My fault. We got our boy GP checking in. I'm going to bring this Kirk crap down. Hold on. I want to see his contract right now. What's up, Grant?
What's up, fellas? Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir. I know you've been seeing a lot of the comments that's been talking about who's on the Kirk contract. How are you feeling about that Kirk situation?
I'm trying to think. I'm conflicted. I feel like y'all know this because we talked about this before. I didn't really care for Kirk Cousins, like signing him, but I do understand why the Falcons went after him. He went through 2 years of piss poor quarterback. Well, 2 or 3 years. Was it 2 years? 2 years of piss poor quarterback play. With Marcus Mariota, Taylor Heineke, Desmond Ridder. And I think, they just were like, they took for granted the stability that Matt Ryan brought to us for 13 years. And so because of that, I think they were just like, let's at least get some level of stability back with Kirk Cousins. But and it's weird, I didn't mind necessarily going after him. I did not like the amount of money that we paid him. I think that's really what really frustrated me more than anything. And then, of course, you follow that up by drafting a quarterback at 8 that you had planned to sit the whole year. It was the process of the entire thing. I didn't care for it. That was really the main thing, honestly.
Hey, I can agree with that 100%. And you actually just said this, and I want to bring up another comment from the fans. We've been talking. Now, y'all have no clue. We all in the group chat. We've been talking about this so much. I think I'm letting both of them chime in on the two. If the Falcons don't make the postseason this season, they're both gone. I'm going to be the first one to tell you, I think they're both gone if they don't make the playoffs this season. Because after last year, I get it. He was a first-year head coach. You can only excuse that but so much. Because you start off with the Kirk situation. You started 6-3. You finished 8-9. If you have and another thing, let's be, and I know they're going to talk about it too. Y'all go back and pull up every draft class leading up to tomorrow night and tell me one class you like. Wow, Terry, hey, let Terry cook. Man, Terry ain't cook nothing. He burnt them draft classes. So, yeah.
I think that the best one is maybe 22.
Possibly 22, yeah.
Which one was that? That's Drake London, Arnold Ebiketie, and Tyler. I think Ritter's in. I think Ritter's in that one, and Tyler Algier. They're all in that one. No, I'm just being honest. But again, I think my biggest issue with, if I'm gonna go on a slight tangent, Terry Fontenot as a GM, I've never liked his process. His first round picks, in a weird way, they've all actually been good, but I don't like the process he's gone about getting them. The only one I really thought was decent was Drake in terms of the process, because it's like Drake was a wide receiver, obviously, and I think that's one where we desperately needed a wide receiver. It was more of like a pick of like, which one do you want? Do you want Drake? Do you want Garrett Wilson? Should you have gone after Jameson Williams? Like, there's a bunch of different guys that you could have gone after. And as we've seen with Drake London, at least, like, he's productive. But, every other pick that we've had, even though they've produced really good players in the first round, I don't like the process of how they went about getting those guys. That's really the only issue. Like, Bijan is a top 5 running back in the NFL, but Jalen Carter was staring you right there in the face, and we complain about defense every year. And Tyler Algier the year before had 1,000 yards. Like, that process don't make no sense. You had a 1,000-yard back that was a 5th round draft pick that you really didn't have to pay, and they followed that up going after and getting, an explosive guy, which I mean is cool, but I would have been content getting somebody like Devin A-Chain in the later rounds and building through the trenches. So we'll see.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of times I feel like Terry gives off that vibe that he's trying to like outsmart everyone. Like he's like he wants to be or thinks he's the smartest person in the room. So he kind of moves that way. And like you said, our first round picks, they have for the most part, I mean, they're good players. They've been good, but like the process is just it's questionable. And it seems like every time around this time, within like the week leading up before the draft, we start hearing the rumors, especially with like the whole Kyle Pitts thing. It just seems like every time there was this, they're like, oh, there's this can't miss player, and the Falcons are going to get him. Which I think Kyle Pitts was that way. Not so much Drake, but Bijan was the same way. Bijan was like the can't miss, explosive, generational running back, and Falcons were kind of just all in. But as far as the rest of his classes, other than the first round picks, I mean, for the most part, he's been terrible.
Yeah. The one thing that I will say that I think has been hilarious about him in the past his last couple of draft classes, at least with the first round pick, you could always tell. And to me, this sounds like the organization had a leak within like his office. There was no reason that the entire NFL community should know who you're picking or who you're trending towards. Now, I will say for this year, they've been better at it, I think, in my opinion. Of the last like 2 days, the two names I've heard a lot recently have been like Mike Green from Marshall, the D end, and then James Pierce Jr. And I'm gonna be honest, that's the first time I've heard James Pierce Jr., which to me sounds like one of two things. Because like Mykel Williams, I think was up there. But I just think they've done a lot more homework, because they know that they have to hit on that first round pick, whether it's a DN preferably, a cornerback or a linebacker or a safety, even a safety. Like, we just need defensive juice, predominantly in the front seven, honestly. Like, we know we need that juice.
I can agree, because you said and that's what I've been scared of. Well, I've been following the mocks every day. I'm like, okay, who's gonna be that random guy? Because the last couple of drafts, it was always a random. Whoever we pick end up becoming that emerging name, like that Monday of the week. Because Pennett's name jumped out of the blue. It was Jared Verse until like that Tuesday. Bijan came up like that Monday, and Kyle Pitts came up like later that week. So, like you said, they're figuring it out. I think they figured out that they have to address this defense. What's that?
Yeah, just keep it closer to the vest.
Yeah, they gotta keep it closer. They gotta and there's no reason you don't walk away and address this defense, especially night one. Because I don't have I think I've went into tomorrow night with no. I'm not gonna knock them if they say we're gonna address the pass rush in the second round, but you gotta address something on that defense, especially up front in that front seven.
Yeah. I mean, I want a defensive end. I want an edge rusher, but I think also I'll just say like my example. I don't know if I'm too far or too behind. Like, my preferred pick at 15, if we stick at 15, is Mykel Williams. But my reasonings for that, he's not the best or most refined pass rusher right now, but he immediately can play the run. And I think that's something that's also very underrated about when people have watched this defense. Our run defense has not been good. And one of the things that can get you into those pass rushing downs is stopping the run immediately. If these dudes are in, 2nd and 8 or 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, because you can't run the ball on them, that's a lot helpful. And that allows you to have your pass rushers pin their ears back and actually attack these dudes. It does not really make the most sense to just get a pass rusher who can't stop the run, because when is he ever going to get on the field? For real. If you think about it, just being honest. Like, so while I think like Mike Green and James Pierce Jr. are better pass rushers than like somebody like Mykel. I think Mykel's ceiling has the potential to be like very strong. Like, at the end of the day, I would prefer a 3-down edge rusher, but at the point blank period, you gotta have impact. Like, in general, you gotta have impact.
I do agree. In matter of fact,
more football.
More football court. Me and Kate were talking about it earlier. We were talking about the depth chart for the Falcons. I'm gonna actually bring it up so you can check it out and tell us, like, just kind of based on where they at right now, how are you feeling about it? And it kind of goes to what we were talking about as far as the setup of the 3-4 defense, of them lining up freaking David Ayamada and them as left defensive end. Do you think that also? I want you to speak your piece on it, because I think you kind of feel the same way that we do. How do you feel about this setup of this defense as far as the positions?
I don't think that they can run a true 3-4. I'm gonna be honest with you. I also think that's been a big issue within like Raheem's regime, as well as Arthur Smith's regime. It's too much back and forth about whether you wanted to run a 3-4 or a 4-3. And Arthur coming in trying to run a 3-4, and we didn't have the 3-4 bodies. That's why the defense sucked. the first 2 years. I personally feel like we've always had 4-3 bodies. If you're gonna run a 3-4, whoever's your nose tackle just has to be like a mountain, and we don't have that type of player. Like, we really do not. Forget really the edge rushing aspect of it. Like, we don't have that mountain type nose tackle that doesn't move. And so I think they're gonna end up running. They claim they're gonna run multiple, but like they're probably, for me, I feel like they're gonna run a 4-3. They're gonna run a 4-3 and run a lot of nickel, honestly. In terms of the depth chart, I actually like the Morgan Fox pickup. I think he'll probably be a base DN. I think Zach Harrison, I personally would prefer him be on the edge again. I didn't like that they made him gain weight and tried to put him inside. I don't think that was effective for him. I think he's a pretty solid run defender, and he's an underrated pass rusher. So I think he should be on the edge. I can't see Anyamata as a defensive. I'm sorry. I can't. He needs to be a D tackle. And then the rest of it, I feel like we'll see. I will say the only 3-4 pieces I'm really confident in coming in this year, obviously Jesse Bates, AJ Terrell, I would say Leonard Floyd, and Caden. And maybe Arnold a little bit. He needs to be better at defending the run, though. I mean, that's his big issue.
Like how you did this your piece phrase. Great show, fellas. I appreciate that, man. This is my boy Cody. What's up, Cody? He said they were overhauled, to be honest. I mean,
yeah, for the most part, you take over this defense. We are broke.
Yeah, we are broke.
We can't overhaul it, honestly.
Not to backtrack, but that was one of the reasons I really didn't want to go after Kirk Cousins, because you essentially threw in $100 million on him that could have been invested in the defense, in my opinion, between even last year and coming into this year. Now, would people have actually come? TBD, but it would have made more sense, in my opinion, to invest in that. And then there's the possibility that you could actually make trades. You can give up a future pick for going after one of these more disgruntled star defenders or something like that or whatnot, and pay them the amount of money that they're asking to get paid. So,
and this another question we hit earlier. How would you feel about the Falcons selecting the quarterback, especially looking at this depth chart? How do you feel about this secondary or no?
Again, I'm only really confident in two pieces in it right now, Jesse and AJ. Mike did well last year. I can't even lie. Like, he did well in like their scheme last year. The problem is I'm not certain that he's like a future, like, yes, I need pound the table for that kind of guy. I would not mind somebody like Will Johnson out of Michigan. I do think that they'll address cornerback at some point, because I think we do need another outside corner. Honestly, I do think we need an outside corner somewhere in this draft. The only problem is, of course, we only got 5 picks.
I agree. We got so many needs, and
exactly.
and that's the crazy thing about it. Oh, I got a shot. Well, hey man, Tell said, "Who is this guy?" He's spitting. Hey, listen,
that's my guy GP, man.
My brother, man. We had these conversations on a regular. Y'all have no idea. He definitely can be back on here as much as he want to. Hey, that's one of the gems that y'all didn't know about. But now, let's see. Starts at 15. Yeah, we're still picking 15 as of now. I mean, nothing has changed to my knowledge so far.
The one thing I will say tomorrow that the Falcons need to pray and hope for, pray that receivers go earlier, which they probably won't, but there may be a few. Maybe like a Matthew Golden goes in the top 15 picks. McMillan out of Arizona goes. And then you got to pray that a couple of offensive linemen go earlier than expected to, so it pushes more of those top defenders down. And even a running back like Ashton Genty, you got to pray he goes in the top 10 as well, I think. That can begin to make your I guess whatever their board setup is a little bit better. Because if you like, it would suck if like the person they really want is gone because there's been a run on like defensive ends or whatever, and then you can't really trade back because nobody's really trying to trade up for somebody and whatnot too.
You say that the Raiders are taking GT.
See the Jags are Raiders.
Right for everything. And you say, "Oh, listen, I'm telling you, we done had these conversations for years. Y'all have no idea. I'm talking about even way back in the TD before we went to the Super Bowl days. Y'all have no idea the conversation we had.
Oh yeah,
Falcon based. So this is just a normal day for us right here. But I want to show y'all some of the mocks that I had some of the people make mocks drafts for the show coming in. So I'm gonna show a couple of them. First, we're gonna be our boy Darrell. This was his mock that he made with I think he traded back, but this is his mock. How would you feel if the Falcons went up there and did this tomorrow night?
Jalen at 15. I like Jalen. Only problem is I think you got to get creative, have a creative defensive coordinator to utilize him. Personally, from my perspective, I think he is more in the Micah Parsons type of role, but we'll see. He does play like that off-ball linebacker. He basically is what Caden Ellis is, like plays off-ball, rushes the passer, and those pass rushing downs. I can't pronounce his name, but
I can't even.
Ozzyri. I used to know how to say this too. My bad.
I did.
Thomas out of Florida State. He's a really good corner. He's a big corner. I would like that pick. Malachi Moore and a trade back. I'd kind of like that. I think it's a little early for Malachi Moore though, but I like that as well. Kaiser, solid. I mean, our linebackers suck. That's like the weakest link I think in the whole defense. Actually, not even necessarily the front seven, but I think the linebacker core just sucks. Mostly because you don't have anybody who can cover or stay healthy. And then Robertson, Nas, those are solid as well. I think in this instance, I'd probably be more ideal of wanting to trade back from 15 if possible, rather than the second round. But it's nice.
What you think, Katie? How you feeling about it?
You said this is Rails mock,
this is
right?
Rails.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I like it. I think Jalen's a good pass rusher. He'd be great. I probably would prefer Michael, but for some things that Grant said earlier about being able to stop the run, and that basically sets everything up. But as far as all the picks, I mean, they would be solid picks. I wouldn't be against it. It addresses pass rusher, cornerback, safety,
literally every need on defense.
literally everything. Couple D tackles. Our linebacking core is freaking terrible. So yeah, it literally addresses every need that we need, other than maybe an offensive lineman or a center. But yeah, this is a solid draft.
I can agree 100%. Like you said, we addressed a lot of needs here, and Jalen's one of them. Jalen, my boy, when I tell y'all, it's crazy that Jalen really came on this year. I know the hype coming into the season was Michael Williams, and the Texas game happens, and Jalen Walker just goes insane. And then from that point, the scouts are like, "Hold on, they got this other pass rusher in Georgia."
Exactly. So they felt like he was a better pass rusher than Michael, which he kind of was, but Georgia's defense is really weird in how they utilize their guys. I just think you'd have to be really creative in how you use him because he's not the biggest. He's like 6'1", maybe 6'2". He's like 240 or whatever. He's genuinely like Micah, but Micah I think has better pass rush moves like initially. And a little bit bigger. So
okay. Yeah. I'm gonna bring up the next mock I had. My boy Darius, I don't know if you still tuned in, bro. This is the mock that he came up with. I think he made one trade back. He moved back. Looked like he moved back to get the corner from Florida State. Also, how do y'all feel about this one?
I think it's Mike Green, another edge who. He's been flying up the boards here as of late. I think he's a solid pass rusher. We still get the corner out of Florida State. And like I mentioned with the last mock, we maybe could use an O lineman. So I wouldn't necessarily mind that. I probably would prefer a center, considering we lost Drew Dahlman, but linebacker, D tackle. Yeah, I mean this is a pretty solid draft to me.
I like it. I would say Mike Green at 15. That's who we get mocked. That's who's been mocked to us like every time. Like if Mike Green is a pick at 15 tomorrow, no complaints. Really, the only complaint I really will have, I'm not really a big fan of like the his name being in the news for like the sexual assault stuff. Which I have to admit, the fact that Mike Green, just as a sidebar, the fact that Mike Green and James Pierce Jr. with apparent his character concerns are the two guys that were looked at the most recently. It lets me know that these dudes' jobs are really on the line, because that Falcon filter thing is like out the window clearly.
Yeah,
Like,
Absolutely.
Because in the past they would have never. These dudes would have been off their board, even with them being good.
I'm glad you said it. Because I'm glad you said it. It's the truth. Keep going.
I will say, if I'm gonna go like pick a couple of these picks, Mike Green, I think his pass rushing moves are excellent. I think his run defense is like not, it's not terrible. It's just like work in progress. Azariah Thomas, that's not his name. I finally remembered his name. Again, he's large. He's a large cornerback. I really like him actually. If those are your first two picks, I can't complain. I'm not gonna lie to you. I can't complain. Those are your first two picks. Those hit on two really big needs on that defense. You have a potential CB2, long-term CB2, and you have a potential alpha pass rusher coming in as well. You'll hear no complaints from me if those are the first two picks coming out of this weekend. And then I understand the thought process behind why you pick a tackle after that trade back. Just due to the fact that like Jake's getting older. I know he signed an extension, but he's getting older. McGarry protecting the blind side now of Mike Penix is a little scary and a little nerve-wracking for me, because he's not the best. He's a good run blocker. He's just not the best pass blocker. So I understand the thought process behind that.
Totally agree with y'all. I agree with y'all on this. I love the Mike Green. I'm just gonna say Thomas, because I'm not gonna try the first name because I know I'm gonna mess it up.
Azariah
Thomas. Yeah. When I look at that Jalen Rivers move, it make me think about the fact that I don't know if a lot of fans are familiar with this. I know we are. Caleb McGarry's contract's up after the 2025 season, so this could be a potential move to replace Caleb McGarry right here if they consider that. So I think that could be another reason why Jalen Rivers is this pick right here. Jalen McLeod, you got a linebacker. Until Smith, you added depth to the defensive tackle, and you picked up a third for 2026, which that goes along with the third that we're going to get from Drew Dahlman leaving to go to Chicago, because we got a couple of comp picks in 2026. So add another pick to 26 class isn't bad. Isn't bad at all. Tev said that these two mocks are solid. Okay.
As I say, I give them both solid Bs. Solid Bs. For sure.
Okay. Moving on to the next mock that we got. KD, this is your mock that you made. This is with the 5 picks. I'm gonna let you sign off on this. Is where did you I love this mock, but I'm gonna let you go ahead and sign off on it.
I mean, like I said earlier, I love not just because he's a Georgia Bulldog, because I actually believe he'll be a great player. Michael Williams, we know we badly need an edge rusher, and just an edge in general. We need D linemen, like point blank period. So as far as that pick, that was what I was thinking. Benjamin Morrison, we know our cornerback room is weak. We need corners. The only corner I believe in is AJ Terrell. Although Hughes he's been a solid piece, but everybody else, I can do without them. Munden, We need talent all over the defense. We need linebackers. Front seven. Really, the entire defense, front seven and secondary. But we badly need linebackers. So that was my thought behind that. Drew Kendall out of Boston College. Good center. I think he'll be a solid pick just to bolster the O line. And that last pick, that was just another shot at getting another D lineman, another edge to get after the passer.
I'm not gonna lie, Katie. Considering you didn't trade back in any of these, this is probably one of the best value drafts that we've seen. Yes. Michael at 15, Benjamin Morris. I think I like Benjamin Morris. He's a really good corner. I think he got hurt last year, so he was unable to finish the year out. But that's a great pick there. Smile Munden. I think, what is that, in the 5th round, or am I tripping?
I think so. I
think maybe 4th or 5th round. One thing that he's really good at is coverage, and like I said, I think one of the things about the linebacking core that really sucks is like none of them are good in coverage at all. So like for him to, if he were to have to come in on like maybe like nickel downs as like a coverage linebacker, I think that would work out very well. I've heard a lot about Drew Kendall, this center.
Oh yeah,
because I think because the Boston College connection too, with like Lindstrom, Matt Ryan, like apparently we do really well with like Boston College guys as well too. But I've heard about him. Too though. I like this. Like I said, value wise, I think you hit pretty much everything, honestly. Especially in those first 3 picks.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. I totally agree with that. I think you addressed Michael's solid. Benjamin Morrison to go. First of all, I think that'd be a steal in the 2nd round.
Yeah,
I'm telling you. My thing is, I'm telling you, I feel like if you get an edge in the 1st or a corner in the 2nd, folks will probably be like, you don't have to. I don't really care about the rest of the weekend, or even vice versa. Like if you were to get but the thing is, I don't know if the cornerback class is like as on point to me as it typically is. It's decent. It has decent depth, but it hasn't. I don't know if I see like the stars, but like if you were to get like maybe like Will Johnson in the 1st, and then like a solid DN in the 2nd round, I think most people would be like, all right, cool. Like I'm content with that. But I like that. I like those first 2 picks the best.
Absolutely. It is Small Munden. Small Munden on our defense, I enjoy it. I'm not even gonna lie to you because we don't have a sideline to sideline linebacker.
Yep.
He would absolutely be a sideline to sideline. He'll be a sideline to sideline menace, especially in this division. They hate him with Small Munden. I ain't even gonna lie to you. And like you said, Drew Kendall's a guy I've definitely heard. And again, Boston College has been really good to the Falcons as of late. And I like Batty. I don't think Batty gets enough props. He's not going to be a high pick, but I think he could be a value player down the road in the NFL because, of course, he came from BYU and they're not really getting a lot of hype out there. They were good at one point this season, but they're not jumping off the charts for nobody.
Right.
So I love this mock, especially with the 5.
Yeah, I was just saying, like I said, that value you got a lot of value in those 5 picks to not have to trade it.
I love that mock myself.
Absolutely, we got a couple of more. My boy Tim, I know you still tuned in. This is his mock. He did a couple of trades. This was his trading back mock. He got JPJ. Isaiah Bond. Yeah, hey, I'm not even gonna lie to you. If we go out here and do this draft, hey man, Terry, I apologize for everything I ever said it wrong. But I'm gonna let y'all talk about it.
A lot of value here that I like. James Pierce Jr. I don't think he lasts at 32, but if you were to get him at 32, quality edge rusher. Again, as I said earlier, I don't really like his run defense for real, but he can rush the passer. He is really good at that. Isaiah Bond in the 2nd. This is the only one I'd be like about, but he's fast. He's from Atlanta as well too. Like that's helpful. I like Makuba. Makuba hits very well for even though he's not the biggest safety. I like him as a safety. I'd have a little issue with Denzel Burke. I don't think Denzel Burke is good, but that's what you do in college and what you do in the pros are 2 totally different things. Jack Sawyer, I think that's a little underrated. It's clearly this dude must be an Ohio State fan.
Yeah, he's an Ohio State fan.
Yeah. Yep.
That's actually 4 straight Ohio State picks. I mean, they're solid. I would say. Like, I think Jack Sawyer is going to be an underrated type of dude. He's one of those dudes that may not necessarily be like a superstar in the NFL, but he'll play like 10 years because he knows how to play the position well, and he might luck into being like a sack artist, but I don't know. I like Seth McLaughlin. I remember when he's at Bama. He has snap issues, but he's still a decent center. Cody Simon, solid backer. Arian Smith is just fast. Bad hands, but fast. And again, I would say that we need speed at the receiver position. I like getting a second-round pick from the Rams. The Baltimore 7th doesn't really mean anything. And to be quite honest, no disrespect to the brother from Villanova, we just never heard of him. But this is overall, that's nice for the amount of trading you did.
Yeah, Tab, man, he went and drafted the entire Ohio State team. But JPJ, I mean, as bad as we need pass rushers, almost any pass rusher that you would draft with whatever the first pick is, whether it's a trade back or our actual pick 15, you could talk me into it. You could talk me into a pass rusher as the first pick. Isaiah Bond, I don't mind it too much. I maybe would have went another player there, but I mean, I'll take a chance on Isaiah Bond if it means we get Andrew Makuba next, which is I love that pick at safety because we desperately need a safety. Denzel Burke, I can't hate it too much because we need a corner, regardless of how I feel about him. This was how many trades did he make?
Yeah,
but, maybe two. Like two.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean Denzel Burke, I wouldn't mind it. Jack Sawyer, another edge rusher. That means we be doubling up on getting edge rushers with this mock, which I would absolutely love and which we desperately need. As far as the center, I mean, we need depth at O-lineman or across the O-line. He's a center. We need depth at O-line, so I'm not mad at it. Linebacker, badly need linebackers. Arian Smith, I have mixed feelings about Arian Smith. I know we do need speed, so it is the end of the draft. So I guess taking a chance on him isn't too bad, and he finishes it off with another cornerback out of Villanova, which he could just be depth for the team. We kind of need some young talent just throughout the entire DB room. So I think that could work. Overall, it's a pretty good draft, though.
Totally agree. It's a pretty solid draft. Now, if you tell me we can walk into the Mercedes-Benz week 1 or whatever the first week is with Jack Sawyer and James Pierce Jr. on both sides, then sign me up for that. Because truth be told,
can't really complain.
Yeah, if we can walk in with those two coming off the edge, like that might be a lot of fun.
That might, and then the crazy thing is that might end up being your long-term tandem. And I will say I do like the double up here, which I think could potentially be an option for the Falcons. Reason I say that is Arnold Ebikete's contract, I think, is up after this season. He, if I recall correctly, he's had his first year he had 2 sacks. He had 6 sacks his second year. He had 6 sacks last year. So unless he explodes for something this year, I'm not completely sold that the Falcons will give him a high profile type of contract. If they do, they'd really be betting on him. Now, hopefully he puts up a double-digit sack season because then we'd be like, all right, finally we have a pass rusher. Because he's actually has been a decent pass rusher. He still just has to develop into being more of a better base edge player because he still stinks against the run or whatever. And that's because he's too light, honestly. But he's a solid pass rusher so far.
I gotta ask you this while you're on the topic of that. I'm glad that you actually brought that up. Do you feel like a part of our problem as far as our like young guys is on the team right now is lack of development? Because even with Zach Harrison, I like when Zach Harrison gets in the game and make particular plays, but I don't feel like these guys have gotten enough true reps. How do you feel about that?
I feel like, again, this goes back to floating between, do you want to do a 3-4, do you want a 4-3? Like, you're doing too much about what you want these guys to do. The last year, when Zach was a rookie, I think, he came in under a 4-3 under I can't remember the defensive coordinator's name. He left for Jacksonville.
Nielsen,
yes.
Ryan Nielsen, yep.
He likes bigger defensive ends, which is why you also saw like Trayvon go crazy this year. But Zach was actually pretty good as a rookie, even in pass rushing attempts. To your point about the development, I think with Raheem, I'm not sure because they didn't play a lot of these rookies that we had this year. If you think about it, the entire rookie class almost wouldn't have played for the most part.
Yeah.
Like Mike didn't get in until the last like 3 games. He had a game against and he had like a spotty couple reps against Denver. Root was hurt initially, but he didn't get in until like halfway during the season. And then Dorless was inactive literally for like half of the season and then finally got in towards the end. So whoever they pick, you got to know that they got to play. And that's why I think as well, they're going to try to pick somebody that's not like a project necessarily. Like they need impact instantly within the first 2 picks, especially because otherwise your job's probably on the line.
Oh, yeah.
It's just the root of it.
Totally agree with you. I got 2 more. Well, it's actually from the same person. This was what he did with his 5 picks. Michael, Maxwell Hairston, Josiah Stewart, Dan Jackson, Kobe King. How y'all feel about those 5?
And 4, the first 4. Well, Kobe King straight too. He's not bad. The first 4, though, I really like. I like Michael. Hairston's really good. He's a pretty good corner. Josiah Stewart at Michigan, he was a solid defensive end. I like the concept of doubling up at defensive end. I would maybe consider a defensive tackle in some of these drafts, but I've only seen them kind of late and not like in the middle of rounds. But again, I like the double up at edge. Dan Jackson is underrated to me as a safety. I'm not sure what type of impact he will provide in the NFL because I feel like coming into last year, he probably was just like, I'm gonna go sell cars at the end of this college, year at the end of my college career, and he ends up possibly getting drafted. And I think he will get drafted anyway because like he put out some great tape this last year.
Yeah, he's solid.
He really put out some great tape. So again, for this to be 5 picks, like this is good work. This is good work.
Shout out Julian. How you feel about it, KD?
Yeah, I agree. For the most part, it's a great draft. You get Michael, you double up on edge rushers, you get your cornerback, and you get your safety in Dan Jackson. Then you also get a linebacker. No offensive player selected. I like that. So yeah, 5 picks is great value, and I would sleep well. I would sleep well if this ended up being our draft.
I totally agree with that because the double up of Josiah Stewart and Michael, I'm here for it. Maxwell Hairston, and he also brings speed to the secondary. You can actually stick him with a fast receiver that may try to take the top off. You have to pair him up neck and neck. He ran that crazy time at the combine. Dan Jackson, I agree with. Grant, I don't think they have given him enough props. I think he's a very underrated.
He's solid. Dan Jackson is solid. Not just because I'm a Georgia fan, but he's solid.
He's right. Dan Jackson came on late for us too. He
bring the
Georgia Tech game.
He did. He bring the lunch pail to work. And I feel like everybody knows that.
Right. And Kobe King, he's a solid linebacker at Penn State. Very solid one. Yeah, so I definitely enjoyed the that one. And he did another one I'm gonna bring up on the here real quick. He did this one with trades. So this was his one with trades.
Honestly, okay. Getting a second from Detroit next year, I like that. Walter Nolan, okay. This goes back to like we do need defensive tackle help as well, especially being that Grady left. I'm assuming that the thought process for them this year is that Dorless and Rook will have to step up because otherwise, why did you trade up for Rook last year? Like, there needs again. These are moves that like I would have been fired this dude, but whatever. Walter Nolan at D tackle is cool. I think he's a good defensive tackle, especially in the pass rushing. As a pass rusher, he's solid at that, and he can play. He's pretty good at run defense. And at 28, that's just a good value pick, I think, at that point. I like Harrison. Princely is a solid edge rusher. Once again, smile, can cover. And then Arian's fast. My only thing about the receiver, like, we need speed. I also think we need another big body at wide receiver because if Drake goes down, we have nobody over 6 feet that can catch the ball other than Kyle Pitts. And he plays tight end. He doesn't play wide receiver. So, yeah, once again, solid. I haven't seen a mock draft I've hated yet.
How you feeling, KD?
All right, so you get Walter Nolan, you get your Grady Jarrett replacement. I think he's a good player. It's good value at that point. We talked about Hairston. I think he's a solid corner. I love Princely. He might be one of my he's probably one of my favorite I guess sleeper picks as far as an edge rusher in the draft. Love Munden. Arian Smith, maybe in the NFL he learns how to catch better. I don't know. Maybe we can work with him because you can't teach speed, but maybe you can help refine his catching. And then again, you double up with another edge rusher, Johnny Walker out of Missouri. So this is another solid draft.
Yeah. Hey, I know one thing. If Michael Penix if we did get Aaron Smith, if Michael Penix put a ball on the dime and this man drop it, I'm running on the field because I'm not dealing with this in the NFL that I dealt with at Georgia.
Oh no!
Hey, I don't know if you saw the combine, but Arian caught everything, and somebody. That's what I had somebody that had a joke. They were just like, they don't think that he liked Carson because he caught everything at the combine. Same with Dom. Same with Dom too. Dom was catching everything in the combine and at their pro day as well too. So
I'm gonna show y'all the two I made. This was my 5-man mock that I did early this morning. I'm gonna let y'all see what y'all think on that one.
Love Michael. The only fear I as much as I want Michael to be 15, I am fearful that there are a couple of teams that are ahead of us that will pick him. Mainly like the Panthers, possibly Saints, and like the 49ers. I think all those teams he's in play for. If he makes it to 15, I'd sprint to the board. Yes, and respectfully, I would sprint to the board even before Mike Green and James Pierce Jr. There's nothing against him. Again, I just think he's better at playing the run than either of those dudes. And even though they're better pass rushers than him, one thing I want people to understand, I'm going very long-winded with this right now. One thing I think people need to be really aware of is that rookie pass rushers, it's usually hard. So, like, I think, for example, let's say we take Mike Green, right? He's touted as a really good pass rusher. Your expectation, these people's expectations are probably going to be like, oh, he's going to give me 8 sacks or he's going to give me double-digit sacks. If he does, you just need to thank God that happened. I'm honestly only expecting like 5 sacks out of whoever we draft because you're a rookie. But I need you to be part of the process and providing like real pressure too, and grow into that number 1 pass rusher role as well too. Like ideally, what you have is obviously Leonard Floyd start and Arnold Ebiketie. Whoever you draft as a rookie, they're going to be your third pass rusher. And if they give you 5 sacks, and if Leonard Floyd gives you I think he's had close to 8 and above his last couple of years. If he gives you 8, Arnold Ebiketie gives you another strong 8. That's decent work. Now you got to figure out where am I getting that from, my blitzes or anybody on the interior as well too. That won't be too crazy, but I don't know. I like the Kenneth Grant pick. I think he's an underrated D tackle. Seth, we need a center at some point. And then I like Jabbar Muhammad probably a little bit more than Jeffrey Boston, though. I like Jabbar Muhammad's height, weight, speed factor.
All right. Yeah, love Michael, man. He's probably one of the players that I want the most out of this draft. So I'm always going to be happy with him being on the draft board. Kenneth Grant, we need D tackles badly. We need players all over the D line badly. So that's a nice pick for the second pick. Then you add to the O line with Seth out of Ohio State. Shout out to Tev. We don't have quite as many Ohio State players as Tev did, but this is a solid pick. Then you hit linebacker, and then you hit cornerback. So I can't be too mad at this draft. I think for the most part, a solid draft to me would be building around the defense, and if you draft offense, is only maybe in the later rounds or an offensive lineman. So I think this pretty much covers that. So yeah, I like this draft.
Yeah, I think I did one with the trades too, and that's the last one we got to look at. So how do y'all feel about this one? I actually traded back with New England to do this one. Which means trading out of the first round.
Yeah, so I mean another you get another draft where the first pick is a D tackle, the Grady Jarrett replacement. Love Walter Nolan, especially at 38. Landon Jackson. I see you got 2 edge rushers. You get Jordan Burch and you get Landon Jackson. I think that's great. Darian Porter. We need corners. I actually really like Darian Porter, so
I like Darian Porter too.
I would love that pick. Then you get the safety out of Virginia, Jonas Sanker. I don't know too much about Jonas, but hey, we need safety. We need young talent in the worst way. And then to top it all off with Drew Kendall at the end, I think he's a solid O lineman. And we have that, like y'all said earlier, we have that thing about the Boston College players. So, I think he's a solid lineman, solid center. So I would love this draft.
I feel like this is a good draft. I do think trading out of the first round is a little skeptical. I think if the Falcons completely trade out of the second round, out of the first round, I would probably want more picks, but I understand why they got, New England's second next year. I like Walter Nolan. I think he's underrated. I don't think he would last at 38 though. Just being honest and realistic. Landon Jackson, I like him. Big body, 6'6". He's like 260, I think, 250, 260. He's a big dude. I like Darian Porter. Jordan Burch, I like him. I've always liked him. I liked him when he was at South Carolina. I liked him at Oregon. I think that'd be good value for him. I admittedly, like Katie, I don't really know much about Jonas Sanker. And then the Drew Kendall pick, I like that as well. The only thing I don't really like so much is completely trading out of the first round. I don't think that the Falcons can stand that because, like I said, they need instant impact more than likely in that front seven. But whoever they first pick needs to be an impact guy. Preferably defender.
All right. I'm gonna read it, y'all. I looked up. So these are from as of today. All the current mocks that I've looked up. So Walter Football has us going Michael. The New York Post has us going Michael. NBC Sports has us going Mike Green. Yahoo has us going Mike Green. Now, CBS, they do 7 different guys. So Ryan Wilson has us going Walter Nolan at 15. Christian Paulson has us going Nick Amon Ward, the safety out of South Carolina, at 15. Mike Ritt has us going Donovan
Ezaraku.
Ezaraku. Almost messing up again from Boston College. Josh Ayers has us going Will Johnson. Kyle Stackpole has us going Mike Green. And Pete Prisco and Garrett Padell has us going Shamar Stewart. I want to ask y'all because, how do you feel about Shamar Stewart? Because I don't know.
So my hot take is people that I've seen a lot of people in the draft community talk about like Michael and feeling like he's a project. Really good, obviously, in a run game, but like that he's a project. If you feel like Michael is a project, there's no way that you would touch Shamar Stewart. In the 3 years that Michael has been there, Michael at least has 14.5 sacks. And also, we know that anybody in Georgia's defense, nobody's like a super sack specialist. Like if we come across any year in recent memory or like future down the line, if they run this system and it just so happens to get a big sack guy, that person like played their ass off. Clearly, Shamar Stewart has like 4.5 sacks in his 3 years. Not trying to be funny, like I'm not trying to
that's crazy.
Talk smack, but I'm just saying, like for all the limitations people feel like Michael has as a pass rusher, he has 14.5 sacks, and I've seen him whoop. First, I'll be honest with you, he whooped Kelvin Banks this year twice and got sacks. Kelvin Banks going first round. And Kelvin Banks might be a guard in the league, but he's going first round. So he handled his business. So I don't know. I think that from a athletic profile though, Shamar Stewart is great. Like his bend is crazy. I don't really think he has any moves. Like you'd have to have patience with him that I'm not certain that the Falcons fan base does have patience for. I'm not certain that he turns into that premier pass rusher. He has the athletic profile for one though. That makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with Grant, man. I feel like he has all the measurables. But for the most part, I just feel like there are other pass rushers. I mean, other pass rushers that are showing up at that spot who I would consider before him. But I mean, picking him, you maybe could talk me into it simply because he is a pass rusher and he has a lot of potential. He has the frame and all the measurables to be a great pass rusher. But I would prefer a Jalen Walker, a Mike Green, a Michael Williams, Donovan Ezaraku before him.
Yeah, I was gonna say even with that's one that I thought I would see more in the mocks. Donovan Ezaraku, again going back to that Boston College connection, he's really good. He's actually a really good pass rusher, and he's pretty good in the run game. He's just being picked more in like the later teens or like the later or earlier than 20s. If we were to trade back and like Michael's not there or like Mike Green is not there or maybe even Pierce, I totally can see us picking Donovan Ezaraku. I also can foresee the fan base being like, "Who is this guy?"
Who is he?
Yeah,
exactly.
Definitely.
But he ends up being a really good player for us, and everybody gonna be like, "Oh snap, this dude's nice." Like I've seen him. He's nice. And the one thing I will say about him as a player, doesn't really matter what down it is. He always has a plan about what am I doing each play, especially when rushing the passer. He uses one move to set up another. He's probably not going to be going a little bit higher just because of because of the conference that he played in. Like he played in the ACC as opposed to like the SEC or the Big Ten. But he's nice. He's nice.
I agree with both of you. To me, Shamar Stewart's a combine warrior, and I hate combine warriors because to me, you could go out there and kill it, but if I don't remember hearing your name during the actual college football season, I ride the fence with you because I remember hearing Mike Green. I remember seeing Walter Nolan. I remember seeing I've heard of Ezraku. I remember hearing, of course, we've seen Michael and Jalen Walker, James Pierce Jr. We've seen all those guys. We've seen Ohio State pass rushers. Shamar Stewart is not even the memorable guy that I remember off that defense. I remember Nick Scorton before I remember Shamar Stewart.
I remember Nick Scorton and Shamar Turner.
Yeah, Shamar Turner.
And Shamar Turner's a D tackle. He underrated to me too. I think with the Shamar Stewart thing, the one thing I feel like people have been trying to do, they've really been trying to compare him to Trayvon Walker. And I remember Trayvon Walker was more of like a combine warrior. But two things. One, Trayvon was elite in the run game, similar to what Michael was. Trayvon also was super athletic in his profile. And I think I don't want to, again, the difference I think in A&M's defense and Georgia's, there were way more like one-on-one rushing opportunities for him in A&M's defense, and he really did not take advantage of them compared to how Trayvon was at Georgia and how Michael has been at Georgia. Like, they play within a system which does not really allow you to just go hunt and rush after the passer. Like, you have to be a 3-down type of guy. And we would even put Michael on the inside a little bit sometimes to get guys like Damon Wilson on the field, who's now in Missouri, or have Jalen rush off the edge.
So, yeah, I can agree with that too. But how do y'all feel about it? It looked like all the mocks definitely got us going defender. I do like that. I love the fact that it seems clear that everybody has us going defense. That's one thing that I can say in comparison to previous years. But do y'all think that there's a underrated position that if the opportunity presented itself, not tomorrow night, of course, I think we're all definitely looking pass rush, defense, or anything of that. Maybe on day 3, is there anything that y'all feel like you could potentially see the Falcons address it that could be a need that we haven't talked about?
Maybe wide receiver. You said on day 3. Maybe wide receiver. Not necessarily mandatory per se, but it's just like, again, this is just me thinking about it. We have one big body at wide receiver, and that's Drake. I don't like just small, shifty guys. I think your wide receiver room needs to be like a basketball team. You have to have guys of all shapes, sizes, and varieties. We only have one guy over 6 feet that is trustworthy, I think. So that's something. But again, and then I also think in terms of like speed, like deep speed, Mooney is pretty solid. Mooney is quick. Yeah. I see Jimmy Horn. I like that pick. Jimmy Horn has crazy electricity at the wide receiver position for sure. He's somebody that I think would be interesting. And then I don't know if this dude. I think he's a bigger body dude from Colorado State. Tony Horton.
Tony Horton.
Tony Horton was nice. I don't know if people remember him, but he was going back and forth for like Travis when Colorado and Colorado State played. He's really good too. Just later in the rounds.
Okay, yeah, I agree. I think receiver is definitely that position where you can afford to maybe get, like you say, a bigger body or even just an explosive player at the end of the draft. I think you said day 3, Nate, and maybe not even so much. Well, receiver, yes, but maybe, who knows? Maybe even some gadget player or like maybe even running back.
The running back class is deep.
Yeah, running back. Some guy that can, you can put him in. You can have certain packages for him, and he can break the big play. I think we've been missing that for a few years now. So I think that would be an underrated position, or those two positions are underrated positions for us to look at, like running back, receiver, or just like a gadget guy that can provide a spark to the offense.
I agree with that, and I'm gonna throw. I agree. Mine was gonna be running back as well. You could look at a Tutton from Virginia Tech. I don't feel like the Falcons have had a true change of pace back since Tevin Coleman. I like what Bijan brings to the table. Bijan's an all around back. Tyler's your bell cow, but I feel like one of the things that we have truly missed. I know back in everyone remember the Tevin Coleman and Vontae Freeman days. Even when Turner first got here, we had Michael Turner with Jarius Norwood, Speedster. We had Antoine Smith. I don't feel like the Falcons have had one of those. Hey, if I give you the ball, you got to house this team. Yeah,
you housing it from 70 because that's the thing. I feel like Bijan could do that in college, but he doesn't really have long speed for real. And I think that's all right. I think a lot of people compare him to Gibbs, right? Because they both came in the same class and they're both really, really good. But Jahmyr Gibbs has a totally different gear than Bijan does. Bijan is good. Don't get it twisted. He's great. I actually think Bijan is a top 3 to 5 running back. But he's consistent to me. I keep feeding him the ball and it works. He may break off those long runs. I think that's the next step in his development. I think breaking away because he always looks so close to breaking out a long run and it's just a shoestring tackle or something, or it's he gets hit at the last second. His next step to me is finding that extra gear. I could see a change of pace back. This is a deep running back class. You got to make a decision on Tyler Algier. So you don't know if they're going to trade him. You don't know if they're going to extend him. I don't think that you give him a lot of money if you extend him because he's now your backup. But he's a serviceable starting caliber running back. And to me, this situation honestly reminds me of when the Chargers had LaDainian Tomlinson, Michael Turner, and Darren Sproles all on the same team. Funny enough, all of them were 3 really good running backs. Obviously, LT is the Hall of Famer, but Michael Turner had a very, very good career with the Atlanta Falcons. Darren Sproles, after he left the Chargers, had a really, really, really good career with the New Orleans Saints, and I think he was with the Eagles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he had a really good career with those guys. That is possible that you can do that and still having a very effective offense.
And y'all know one more thing that another underrated position. Of course, Kyle Pitts is tight end number 1. I would love to snag one of these pass catchers in this late on day 3 because it's kind of a solid tight end class. You could possibly find old boy from Syracuse, so the Rondé Gatson could be a guy that you look at, or maybe I know Harold Fan gonna go early. Whoever gets Harold Fan is gonna get a steal from Bowling.
He can't block.
Yeah, he can't block. That's
the
only thing.
I think he can.
But yeah, I do think that I would love to even see, like I said, another big body. I do think that we could use one of the. We got to get a change of pace guy. I know I'm definitely gonna agree with y'all on speed. I want a speed receiver. That's the main thing because with the deep ball that Michael Penix throws, somebody got to be able to get down that field.
I think my thing with that is if we find a guy Ray is quick, I think Mooney is quick. Again, the deep speed, I don't know if they have that element in them yet. If we were to find a guy, that would be lovely. And the reason I'd say that, the ability to have a guy take the ball, that's a quick strike. That's one thing I think the Falcons are missing right now is that quick strike ability. In addition to that, you allow Drake to work underneath in your intermediate. That's where I think he's at the best. You allow Kyle to work in your intermediate. Well, Kyle's pretty good at the deep ball too, as well, especially him being a bigger body and being able to go up and catch stuff. But you allow those bigger bodies to work underneath, and you can move the ball down the field better, I think. So, yeah, exactly.
Oh my God!
Sending deep passes to Hodge. And the crazy thing is Hodge actually got some speed to him, but
some speed. Yeah.
we ain't had no deep speed guy, super explosive receiver since Taylor Gabriel.
Yeah. He's the last one, which is crazy to think about, but yeah.
Yeah, where they can score from out 70 and whatnot, because you can't touch them after they, got a head of steam. We ain't had that in front. Or I'd even say Calvin Ridley too. Calvin Ridley was pretty quick.
He was
as well too.
Definitely. But I think we getting. Do y'all got anything else you want to chime off on the Falcons before we wrap it up, or how y'all feeling?
Nah,
How do y'all feel going into tomorrow night? I'm gonna leave it at that. How do y'all feel going into tomorrow night? Are you confident or?
I'm optimistic, I would say. I think that I'm hoping that they just make an impact. Whoever they pick, I need them to be impactful. I need them to turn into a star. I'm being overly wishful probably by saying this, but it's necessary. We need whoever we pick to turn into one of those guys where around the league, everybody's like, that guy's a dude. Like when we had Julio. Bijan has turned into that guy, in my opinion, on offense, like where people are like openly respecting him. It is funny, Tevin saying we might take a tackle. The funniest thing is about taking a tackle, that's a move that I would understand. The only move on offense that I would like understand, but it would really put a damper on things because you're essentially redshirting him. And if you're not redshirting him and he's going to start, you better be flipping McGarry for something of value, which I don't think you get much for real. I don't see the wisdom in taking a tackle right there. I really do think that's more of a smokescreen to get somebody to trade up for a tackle and you be able to trade back. Because I think we so desperately need a couple of edge rushers. But that's my spill.
Yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic, just considering the fact that Terry knows that he knows his job is on the line. So
he should.
Yeah, he should know. But he knows he has to come out of this draft with impact players due to the circumstances that we're under. We don't have many picks. So if you're not trading back or making any trades, you have to make the most out of your picks. We're broke essentially. You don't have money. So you need whoever you draft, especially the first few picks, I'd say. You need players that are going to play. I guess they don't necessarily have to be starters, all of them, but as long as they get enough playing time to make an impact, you need those impact guys to kind of fill out your roster and just be able to make plays. Because if not, then we're going to be back at square one next season, and we're going to need a new GM and may need a new head coach. So,
yep.
Yeah,
you have to start all over again.
You start all over
because you don't know what they value, what kind of scheme they're trying to run, and the last point I'll make is, as much as y'all know I've had problems with like Terry and Raheem, at the end of the day, I think all Falcons fans really want both of them to get it. They really want both of them to succeed. The problem is, I think they need to show a bit of humility, and you cannot feel like you're the smartest people in the room. You haven't accomplished anything. As the guy, I should say, like, yeah, Terry, you've been in the organization with the Saints since you came out of college or whatever, but like, you weren't the GM that won the Super Bowl. And Raheem, yes, you were the defensive coordinator of the Rams, but you also had Aaron Donald and Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp went crazy that year. And you're not the head coach. You have to win yours as the head coach and as the GM. So we'll see.
I agree with y'all both 100%. But I'm like both of y'all. I'm cautiously optimistic. I think the thing that needs to be very, 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 very clear is that Terry and Raheem got to realize that you are on the clock. We are in the year 2025. Our last playoff game. Y'all want now? My bros
I know what it was.
Our last playoff game was in 2018. It was in the 2017 season.
That's ridiculous.
It was January 13th, 2018. It has been 7 years since we've watched the Falcons play past the 17 games. It gotta happen this season. They got to make the right moves to get this team back into the postseason. We're not even talking Super Bowl yet. We got to get back in the playoffs.
Just get there.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too. Like, that's the thing too. Like, being able to watch your team people don't realize a lot of people don't watch people until like the postseason too. So especially like the guy whose season is over as well. When you're watching a team like, oh, I can go help that team because they right there. I like a lot of the talent that they have and whatnot, which is sad. To be honest, that we ain't made the postseason in 7 years.
It
Sad.
is. It is.
Very
And
bad.
the sickening part about it is the last 2 seasons the Falcons had the opportunity to actually
To make
win
the
this
postseason.
division. And especially last year. So you have to, if you get out to that hot start, you gotta capitalize. You got this draft needs to be, and I hate to even give this team props, but I look back to the 2017 Saints draft. It has to be similar to the 2017 Saints draft where they had 5 picks and hit on every single one of them. It has to be similar for this 2025 Falcon team because this is taking the fandom out of it. This team is a lot closer to being really good than they are to being really bad. So you got to make a move. And you got to make them right.
Yeah. I mean, Mike Penix only played 3 games. I think they got a guy in him. Drake London is certified. I think he's good. This is put up or shut up year for a guy like Kyle Pitts. I'm always gonna be a Kyle Pitts believer. I just believe in his traits. I think he needs to figure out, like, am I trying to put food on the table at this point? To be quite honest, I'm just being plain and simple. Like, and the reason I feel like he's still good, like as much as people talk about him, I saw him get 1,000 yards when Matt Ryan's arm was falling off. So it's clearly there. Like, yes, I understand you moved down from like basically being first in the pecking order to being more like 4th now behind Drake, Bijan Drake, and Mooney. But like you can establish yourself, I think, as that 3rd option. And all you really got to do is funny. He was on Cam Newton's 4th and 1 podcast. And Cam literally told him straight up to his face. He was just like, bro, he was like, you can be like Greg Olsen in terms of just being like the safety net. He's like, as a tight end, you got to be that safety net. So he was just like, you can be the chain mover. And I'm gonna be honest, a lot of that comes down to like him and how he's actually utilized. I've always felt like at bare minimum, just give him the ball in the intermediate and let him go to work, crossing routes, crossing patterns, get him moving, get his feet under him and whatnot. Let him move the chains. Like, he doesn't typically drop the ball, for being honest. Like, obviously, I remember that one that turned into an interception from Mike or whatever. But like, other than that, he don't really drop the ball like that for when you actually put it on him. But I mean, Kirk was miss him sometimes, and Desmond and Mariota was terrible. So
this is true. And on that note, we're all gonna wrap it up here. We'll be back on tomorrow night. Grant, if you want to come back on here, you are more than welcome to do so. We're gonna be on the whole first round because hey, you got some fans tonight from you being on here. So yeah, for all of y'all that are still tuned in, we're gonna be on the whole first round tomorrow. So we're gonna put the StreamYard link in the comments when your team makes the selection. If you want to come on here and chime in, you're more than welcome to do so. We're gonna talk about all 32 teams. And I know it's a lot of folks that's already saying they're going to pop in and say what they got to say. Hey, man, y'all keep it clean, though. I don't need all the F-bombs and the B-bombs. I know your team might mess up. So, hey, don't do it. But on that note, this is going to wrap up the Falcons show. I appreciate my boys, Grant and Katie, popping on here with me. And until next time, this has been another episode of the Falcons Draft Show. We'll see y'all tomorrow night.